I'm Art Rooney Jr., and this is my book, RUANAIDH. That's RUANAIDH is Gaelic for Rooney, and the reason I had RUANAIDH and instead of just Rooney on there is because I thought my dad would get mad at me, for hustling my book with his name on it.
Your dad's name. Well, tell us, what's it really about? What compelled you to write this book?
Well, there really had been no books written when I did write it. Roy McHugh and I wrote it, and I wanted to get the story out. And now, since I completed this, there's been 5 books, and they're all good books about my father. And Gene Collier wrote a play about it, which is now a movie. But we get that. They call him the Chief. We got the Chief's story out there.
Art, what's your favorite Chief story?
Oh gosh, there's about 500 pages of them in here. But just to pick one, I don't know. He was a very sharing guy. And he was kind of tough on his kids, but he always told us, he says, always but always treat everyone the way you want to be treated, but never allow anyone to mistake kindness for weakness. And that was pretty much, he was a guy that always wanted to be fair with everybody, but just a general story about him, it's too hard to pick just one out, but, that type of thing, that I was here at a book signing right here at the history, and people would come up and tell me stories about my father. And one of the stories that I did like, this guy came up and asked me, he bought a book, went me to sign it, and he said, when I was a little kid, he said, I took a bus into Pittsburgh from the Forest Hills or somewhere. He says, and it was too far to walk. He says, and I had a quarter to get back, home, and it was getting late. And I was about 12 years old, 13. He says, and the big kids jumped me and stole my quarter. And he said, I was just sitting on the side of the street and crying because I knew I could never get home and it was getting so dark. He said, this guy in a suit and tie came up and said, what's wrong, kid? And he said, the big kids jumped me and beat me up and took my quarter and I can't get home. So he said, this guy stayed with me and sat there with me for 20 minutes until the next bus came, and got on the bus and gave the guy a quarter and said, now, you make sure he gets off where we're supposed to get off. And he said he was there for 20 minutes, a half hour. And he said when he got off the bus, the people said, you know who that was? And the little kid says, I don't know who it is. They said, that's Art Rooney, the guy that owns the Steelers. But he really was that kind of a guy.
That's a great story. Now,
and I got it right here.
Well, now, do you think you'll ever do a second edition and maybe include some more stories that you forgot the first time around?
I definitely could do that. People have been after me to do another book on just my life as a scout, because there were great stories about that too.
I'd love to read that book.
Yeah, but it was an interesting life, and being around my dad. He was a special guy. He was a bit of a Puritan, with the kids, but he was very understanding. Yeah. He was how would you like to grow up in Pittsburgh and be Art Rooney Jr. and your dad had the Steelers, and that was a bit of an adventure too. And anytime we get out of line, or thought you were getting out of line, he said, you're no big shot, you're just a regular guy now. Don't go on putting on the dog. Don't be acting like you're a big shot. You're just a north side guy, But he made sure that we, didn't act like we were something special,
Art, thanks so much, and continued success with the book.
Well, thank you. And I wished I would have answered your question, but I didn't. You asked me the best story, and I couldn't even think of the best story. The whole book has a lot of good stories.
That's an impossible question to answer. I think you've done it with the book.
Well, thank you very, very much, Andy.